So now I also want to introduce Ash, who's the owner of this beautiful shop called Prom, which Paula tells me coincidentally opened, and she knew nothing about it, but in the middle of her writing her clay pot cookbook.
And you know what I said?
What?
In my best Humphrey Bogart accent? Of all the gin joints in the world, you opened in mine?
It's just an extraordinary coincidence. So tell us, Ash, what gave you the idea to open this shop?
Oh, basically, I'm an Egyptian, and I met my wife like 5-6 years ago.
American.
And she's American, yeah, from Oregon. So every time we go to Egypt, she gets fascinated about clay and street and this and that. Drag me in here with 6 pots in each hand. Some of them will last through the whole traveling process, and some not. So happens a few times, and then she said, "Oh, that would be a great idea to, start, playing, how wonderful clay cooks." I said, "Yeah." So we thought about it. So we moved to Egypt. Took the whole family moved to Egypt for 1.5 years. Yeah, until I, dig in, find those people, and try to, get them to do what we want, shapes and.
Oh, so these are all special order?
No, that's Italian. That's
No,
that's French.
No, what we have here, we have Spanish, we have Egyptian, we have Colombian, we have Italian, we have French. So we try to, to be really specialist in clay, which is myself. I grow,
You grew up eating from a clay.
I remember my mom used to, whatever vegetables around in season, she just cut them, put them in, and they get meat, especially lamb shoulder, slow cooking. So before I go to school, I carry the whole bram, which is that guy here. That's really traditional.
What is bram from?
Egypt.
Oh.
It's the name of clay in Egypt.
Oh, the word bram means clay in Egypt.
Yeah,
and briam is a dish that goes in the bram.
Yeah,
It's a rice dish.
Yeah, so I carry the whole thing covered with full of vegetables and meat. So I take it to the public oven in Egypt, which used to have those long time ago, 20 years ago, public ovens, and the guy, he get to know me, put it in the far end, away from the fire, like the fire, and they're just really slow for until I finish my school. Take it home, and it's like,
what a wonderful story.
I
Let me
remember
tell you
those
something
days.
he told me which is so wonderful. By the time he came home, and they always put a butcher's paper on top. By the time he came home, it had cooled down enough that all the fat had risen to the top, and by lifting off the butcher's paper, it was skimmed.
Yeah, and it's amazing that the butcher paper never burned, because the fat, when raised, it gets sucked from the paper, and it for some reason it doesn't burn, because it's oiled with.
So the butcher paper was on it while it was baking.
On the top of the bread.
That was the lid, essentially.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Right. It breathes, but everything works. It worked. I mean, people thought these things through.
And how ecological to have a community oven. Come on.
We used to send our bread from Morocco. We always sent our bread. Our oven wouldn't hold enough. It couldn't hold the amount of bread that our housekeeper had to make for her family. We ate 1 loaf. They ate 3. Every day.
Yeah. And it's amazing. When you cook in clay, it's mostly simmer, food blend with meat and herb and spices, and it's not that really, it's not that complicated. It's just basically vegetables and meat, especially shoulders and with bones and all this stuff, the flavor. Yeah, and then all together, and spices and herb and
This is everywhere in the world. I mean, Asia, everybody knows about the clay pots, and in India, but people have forgotten that in Europe, too, there are certain dishes, cassoulet, in every country.
And in Alsace, too.
Yes, and Yuvest is in Greece, and Buvec is in Turkey. Every country has certain dishes that they will not give up.
And we have bean pots.
Exactly. Exactly.
This is really wonderful bean pots. That's
now,
what you want.
This would be the last shape that I would imagine for a bean pot. Why does this shape work for a bean pot?
I cannot say anything. The princess, she's here.
Okay. I agree and disagree, because beans can cook in many, many different shaped pots. This happens to be a popular one in North America, to have a small opening at the top, just like we talked about the tree. But it doesn't really have to have that. What it has to have is steady heat and no loss of moisture. And if the potter could just as well have said to the cook, you can make your beans in this. He could, but this may hold a larger amount of beans, and the moisture. Think about it. In Italy too, I can't even think of the word now. The fiasco. The fiasco from Tuscany is shaped, but it's not round. It's sort of narrow, but it's rounded so that the moisture comes up a bit and then stays down. It doesn't go away. Why is this okay? Because maybe it's cooked at a different temperature. It's cooked maybe with different ingredients, but this could work. In other words, it's not like you have to go out and buy 50 pots to cook 50 dishes, different dishes. There is versatility, but there was a reason why they
Different shapes.
Yes.
Now, what about the breakage issue? Well, how would you address that?
How many times have you dropped your Le Creuset on the floor?
Never.
Well, I've never dropped a clay pot.
Yeah.
You can. The only time it ever really gets broken is in transit from the store, and that's where. Am I right?
Yeah,
and
that's
true. Where
that's,
they do
yeah,
double wrapping, because they have a website.
Okay.
Bramcookware.com.
Bramcookware.com.
Yes, but they know because it happens.
Yeah.
But I have had things that I've ordered before they were here that have broken from France, from different places. But most of the time now, I mean, people have learned. So though, if you've got burned, you know.
I just want to go back to that one.
Yes.
So I called, this is Egyptian meat. So I called the guy in Egypt and said, do you remember the fava bean we buy in the street? That's what we buy. Full medam.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you. So, do you remember that? I said, oh yeah, I know. So I said, I needed exactly something like soccer ball with a small oven. So my idea is, I remember those when I was in Egypt, the guy like put in a low heat all night long, and then the first thing in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, start to serve
and I remember when I was in Cairo, yeah, I remember that on the 4th and 5th floor they would drop a basket down on a string, and they would fill it up with a fool,
and the bread next to it.
Never forget that. That was breakfast. Yeah.
So that's exactly what I did when I left in Egypt. I had my son, who's like 3 in that time. He's like, you know, looking from the window and just. So I called him up and said, I need something exactly the same. So the idea is, you get the beans, you get the water, you get the steam, enough room for the steam, it trapped. So the small opening here trapped the steam, so it runs back. So we don't lose too much moist. So
that's a beautiful pot.
Yes, but
that's a work of art.
Let me say something. For fava beans, it's a beautiful pot, and it's the right size and shape. But if you were doing, just to defend what I was saying, if you were doing a bean dish that cooked a little quicker than fava beans, because fava beans take much longer to cook, and you were doing a bean dish, and you then wanted, after the beans, like chickpeas or beans were cooked, and you wanted to incorporate some sort of sauce and bring it to the table for, because you have, this
That's
works.
better because it has a wider top.
Yeah.
But this could also be beautiful. I mean, look at this one.
Yeah, we're talking about art here. So and then
the ladle,
I know,
scooping it out.
You know, so when the guy he served his,
I'm gonna see the inside as well, if I may. Is the inside glazed as well?
Yeah, it's just easy.
So this is made on a wheel.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or is this a coil?
No.
Made on a wheel.
Yeah, and if I have 10 pieces
this is a
here,
work of art.
Yeah, if I have 10 pieces here, none of them the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as I was talking to the guy, and I said I needed something face to me, not face up. So he come up with the idea. Here.
It's adorable.
That is amazing. On that note, we'll take a brief break.